I remember when my coworker Danny and I were sitting in her audition, and we're just like, oh my God, she's hilarious. Like, what are we gonna do with her? Like, we have to
do something really good.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. And she and I were friends for a while too. And then it was like I hadn't heard from her for a while. And then we were watching like Saturday Night Live, and that was the season. Like I was like,
you're like, huh?
Okay,
what's what happened to her?
I guess that's why she didn't call me back. Weird.
Welcome to Beats Working, winning the game of events, where we share stories and strategies to turn any event or life moment into something unforgettable.
Events are wild, and the people who work in them are some of the most resilient humans on Earth. If you know, you know.
So come with us behind the curtain for a look at their most memorable experiences.
As they say, the show must go on, so let's get on with the show. Welcome to Beats Working, winning the game of events. Today's guest is a powerhouse of creativity and resilience in the events industry. With over 25 years of experience, Kelli Bielema has done it all, from wrangling talent at Universal Studios Hollywood to producing brand activations for Red Bull at EDC and Coachella. She's helped raise millions for animal welfare causes and now leads employee experience as the event manager for Meta's Reality Labs Research Campus in Redmond, Washington. Okay, not only that, she's a former VP of programs for Alysse Seattle. She's a multiple ECAA recipient, an Esprit Award nominee, and as if she didn't have enough going on, she also runs a karaoke lounge out of a vintage Airstream, which is affectionately named the AirScream. Get it? Based in Seattle with her human spouse, Patrick, 6 rescue pets, and a rotating cast of foster dogs and cats, Kelli proves that in events and in life, the show must always go on. Kelli, welcome to our show.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me.
The crowd goes wild. Libby, I think this is, I don't know if we're qualified to have on somebody so esteemed and creditable on this podcast.
Like, I mean, the girls got experience.
This is a big deal. It's a big deal.
Thanks. You're pumping my ego up. I love it.
You're the best. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you have done everything from running Red Bull activations at major festivals to planning internal experiences at Meta. Both very different types of events, very different experiences. But I feel like you must have a similar process for both of those. So when you're starting an event, what's your step-by-step guide when you're going from ideation to the initial pitch? Because I don't know if people have picked up on this, but you are very creative. Creative.
Thanks.
Kelli helped us plan a 10-year anniversary party that we threw in an airplane hangar. And by helped us plan, I mean she did 75% of the work so that I could just follow the health inspector around for 6 hours.
Well, I think that's a good example too of something where I think, generally speaking, anytime I do plan an event, I feel like it's different every time. I feel like my process is different. For example, when I did the Seattle Met event, that was when I had my production company, and my approach was different. It was also because I was a salesperson. I was obviously the event producer / coordinator / HR person, janitor, all the things you have to do within your business, right? So I took a very detailed approach back then. I'm not saying I'm not detailed now, but it was something where it was a lot more of the line for me in that sense. And when an opportunity would come to me, especially with the Seattle Met event, I was like, wow, we get to do it in an airplane hangar and there's going to be an airplane there. Excuse me, what? I don't understand how amazing this is going to be. Like it was a lot, right? And so a lot of times my first questions are always, what's the end game? What's the goal here? And if it's something as simple as it's a celebration, or if it's something to attain customers, more subscribers, or what have you, then like how do we reach that? Because that'll inform a lot of the other decisions of what we're going to plan for the event. So I'm trying to think back on that one. I just remember being like, ooh, we got to have the entrance with the whatever the freezer plastic hanging down.
Yeah, we did. And then there was a photo op inside one of the like turbine engines. But no, you brought you made full on storyboards. I had never done that for an event before and never seen it. And I just remember the amount of like detail and thought and real creativity that was in that it was so cool. It's inspiring for me.
Well, I think, and that's part of my process too, is like storyboarding or building decks around it. And a lot of times it's things that I've culled throughout the years that are up on random Pinterest boards or on my phone. And I'm like, where is that? Because this will go great with that event in particular. So that's obviously a lot of us event producers / designers are very visual. So a lot of what I do just starts there. Right now I'm planning our employee summer event and people already know the theme. They don't know what's going to go on, but it's New York theme.
Ooh.
So the first thing I started with was the New York City coffee cups, the ones with the little like Greek key lettering on them, the blue ones. You know what I'm talking about? The traditional. Libby's
no, I don't know what those are.
Libby, have you ever even been to New York, Libby?
Yeah, on the 8th grade East Coast tour trip.
Anyway, it does go back a while, but it's sort of like iconic in that sense. So I don't know what it was, but that is what spurred my idea for this theme of this event. We always have this pizza oven. We have 2 pizza ovens we rent from Court Event Party Rentals, and then our culinary team makes the pizzas for employees.
Yeah.
And we have custom boxes that I make. Oh my God, it's so fun. So like all the little details.
Okay, where do you make your custom pizza boxes? Because we got a pizza oven and I want to get some. I don't know who I'm going to send pizzas home with, but somebody.
I have to get a new vendor because the last one I used, they are no longer doing that. So, but like little things like that. Like I'll take one thing, like the pizza thing, and build from there. But it was something about the classic coffee cup where I'm like, this is our theme, and it's really, and again, the process is never the same. A lot of what I do that is the same is how I organize, my documentation and keep what I call a dossier, which is basically a Google Drive sheet with many, many tabs. And each one of those tabs has, different priorities on it or different, like run a show is on there. And then my budget and contact information. I just keep it all in one place because, ADHD. Mm-hmm. But always looking at it from the perspective of who's my audience and what's the end goal. And again, it can be something as simple as we're going to have fun. We're going to, employees love to work
always
here.
The goal.
We're
going to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
That is super helpful. I'm also very visual so as you were talking, I was like, I can totally understand like finding the one item and building from there. It reminded me a lot. I don't know. Did you guys in high school, like in your different classes, you would compete at homecoming and you would like decorate areas of the school, like the commons or something, and whatever the theme was? I feel like that's where some of my early event planning actually started because I was always so visual and wanting to think about the aesthetics of how everything looked. Speaking of aesthetics, I want to talk about some major festivals that you've done, because when you were running Red Bull activations, you were like at Coachella and whatnot. What is the most, and things can go, as we know, at any size of event, they can go from epic to chaotic in seconds. So what's the most like event person moment you've had mid execution that just proves how gritty and resilient you are?
I think EDC is a really good example of, I was at that point where I'm like, what have I gotten myself into? What
am I doing here?
In a good way, I will say in a good way. And especially at the end of the day, I was like, oh yeah, that was an incredible experience. But it's not just, so EDC is not just the festival. It's like, it takes over the city and it takes over, all the markets. So for Red Bull, I would work with my teams that did little brand activations in things like, say, Walmart. So in Walmart, they have a huge display and that's an activation, honestly. So it would be one of those things as part of the team. We would talk about, what was going on there, how are sales, what are the promotions, because they had it set up, the Walmart one, they had it set up like a DJ booth, like a cool festival DJ booth. And then we had a promotion that was going on where someone had to win a contest. It was like a game. So they developed this game that was a Red Bull EDC game. And whoever won that won a prize package that would put them in a fancy RV in the campground area and, be treated like, VIP rock star experience. So that was another part of the activation, and it's like, there were just so many things that splintered off from just the festival. And then you have folks who have accounts at some of the big casinos and they're doing activations at the day clubs. And then we had activation at Maverick Helicopters, which is where you can pay to be helicoptered into the festival. Oh yeah.
What?
Oh yeah. Like you talk about
seriously.
Yeah. It's pretty extra. And everyone, like all the people that were like managers above me and directors would be like, oh yeah, we're taking the helicopter in. And I'm like, I'll be on site. So
I'll be sweating. Okay.
Oh, sweating like you wouldn't believe. Yeah. So like, and I haven't even touched on like what happens at the festival. So at the festival, you've got, backstage activation with all the artists and guests. And then you've got a VIP activation. And then you've got all the bars. So at all the bars, there's Red Bull activations there where we had Red Bull slushies are huge at these festivals, which sounds crazy, but I had to call the Margarita Man and have a contract with him and have him come out. But as far as things just being chaotic and crazy, it's like, there's thousands and thousands of people there. And it goes from, I think gates open at like noon and it goes until like 6 a.m. I think there came a point on my first night there and it was 4 a.m. I'm like, I think I have to go to bed. I mean, I had already been up every day and night for like hours on end. And this is like, I hope I survive this because I wasn't no spring chicken when I started that job. And I'm like, with these kids basically and trying to keep up. And I stayed on property too. So there's a campground for crew. And that was something I decided to do. Like leadership was like, you don't have to do that. I'm like, I want to do it. I want to be immersed. I want to have the full experience. I want to be available. And like, I think when you say, gritty, like that's what I think of. I just think of like the dirt and like wearing in festivals, like when they have like, this is pre-mask wearing time. So like when mask wearing time came up, I'm like, no, I just want to wear my festival garb. Just because it is like all the elements of the dust and whatnot. But it was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was one of those things that they presented as a best, what do they call it? Like best in business or something practice was how we activated at EDC. So that was presented to leadership in Austria where Red Bull is headquartered. So that was like had a girl moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Needless to say, I did leave that job because of toxic management.
Because they were flying on helicopters and you were sweating on the boots on the ground.
About it. God. No, but seriously, had there not been a couple people that I had to deal with, I would still be there, man. I loved that job. I loved every sort of creative outlet. I liked the sales element. I feel like that's where, being a business owner came into play. I think that's part of the big reason I got hired was because like I saw I kind of think of that anyway, coming into a job. It's like, I think of it as my own individual business and how I'm going to run it. And I was really good at relationships. And before we even had the festival, I had to have these meetings with this guy. His name was Larry. And Larry, I had to go talk to him. And they're like, oh, Larry is really something. You're good luck, Kelli. I don't know if he's going to go for it.
You're like,
I got this.
Larry's got nothing on me. How much Red Bull did you drink out of curiosity?
Oh, you know what's funny? I actually told someone this story the other day. I can drink regular size, like 8-ounce Red Bull. I can do 8 in a day, still go to sleep.
Oh,
now a day, it was from like, okay, during that time, I'd get up like probably like 8, 9, and I'd be up. The other 2 nights, I'd be up until like, maybe like 2 a.m. I wouldn't be up super late.
I mean,
But-
2 a.m.'s like kind of late.
And then you're going to bed when it's like, yeah. But yeah.
I mean, I look shocked, but I used to do lines of cocaine and go to bed. So it
There you go.
totally, I get it. When
Yeah.
your body becomes accustomed, it becomes accustomed.
That's all Red Bull is liquid cocaine.
Yeah.
How do you come down from an event like that? I feel like the amount of, time, effort, sweat, emotional energy, and mental energy that would go into, yes, the planning, but like the setup, the production, like the teardown, which we know doesn't take as long. But like, I feel like I would just sit and like cry for a while. Like, what did you do? How do you recover after an event like that? Or after, maybe after you're Airstreaming with like a group all day long. But what's your rest and recharge?
I mean, I think generally speaking, it's, our bodies are just done, right? You've never drank enough water, like those kinds of things. I'm drinking Red Bull.
Not eating enough good snacks.
I know. And it depends on what time I get home. And, usually it involves a shower and a gummy and I pass out, So there's that as sort of standard. But
so you have to do the shower before the gummy because the other way around might not be a good mix.
Falling asleep in the shower. But I would say sometimes it depends on the event too. Like sometimes it'll take me a minute to wind down. I'm like, I'm too hyped or, I had Red Bull too late. But yeah, I
had 10 Red Bulls, not 8. So can't go to bed yet.
Yeah, exactly.
What's with all the events you've been producing or even attending, what's like the coolest swag item you've ever seen? Now, I bring this up because I remember we were doing an event for Expedia and your excitement over winning that yellow suitcase.
That's right.
Oh my God.
Do you remember?
Yes.
Like, so excited. And then I was like, you were so excited. I was like, I need a yellow suitcase. Like, and then
she got one.
and I was so
did.
excited. So
that was a good suitcase though. That was a really good giveaway.
It was. It was a.
It was. I had that for a while, and then I think the wheel finally fell off and front crashed, and Oh, gee whiz! Oh, I've seen so much swag over the years, and I listened to your swag episode too with that gal.
Oh yeah, Carrie Ann.
Yeah. Oh wow. I think you may have stumped me, but it's like I always like things that are practical.
Like a suitcase.
Like what? Like a suitcase.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know. I'm like looking right now, like even one of my swag vendors sends me samples too. So I have this like hard mouse pad. I don't know why. I love that thing. I will even travel with it. It's hard. It's not cute. It doesn't have any logos on it, but it's like, it's useful. It's purposeful. And that's usually what's key to me.
What's a swag item that you hope like dies and we never have to see it again?
Oh my God, don't hand out pens at a trade show. Nobody wants a pen. People don't even write stuff anymore.
Right. It's true. It's true. I'm also getting a little tired of bags just because there's how many bags we all have in our houses? Like so many. Now I get it. They're very useful in the moment because most people don't bring a bag with them sometimes.
Yeah.
But I get home and I have so many bags.
I think it depends on quality too, right?
Totally.
We did these tote bags last year and I always underbuy for some of my events because I'm like, I don't want to have it left over. I don't want to have waste. And I'm buying quality, so it's going to cost more. So instead of like at this event where there's, normally like 500 people, I only ordered 150. I'm like, we're not going to be wasteful.
Oh, it makes them exclusive.
Not everybody's getting one. So like you got to get there and you got to clear it. And it builds. And this is something specifically for employee events that I kind of strategically do is like, I don't want to have leftovers and you got to get there and you get the stuff. I like food items, like good quality food items, Lady Yum macarons. Like if you do like a little 2-pack, I don't love that they're in plastic, but like food, beautiful presentation, all that is nice. So,
And fun fact, you have a cookie named after you.
I do.
After a former,
right.
and I have told that story to so many people. I'm like, I have a friend who has a cookie named after her.
Yeah.
Because, you know, party tricks. Yeah.
Yeah. I named that for her Kickstarter that she did when she was still just doing catering. And she wanted to open brick and mortar.
And now she's like at SeaTac. She's everywhere.
Yeah, she's blowing up. She's doing great.
All right. Well, let's talk about, you know, we like to say it ain't bragging if it's true. So let's talk about your karaoke lounge in a vintage Airstream. The AirScream. So
it's
clever.
So cute. Those stickers, I still have my
cute.
stickers. They're safely in here because if my kids find them, they're going to stick them on something that I don't want them to go.
Stickers are great.
Stickers are always a good idea. Always a good idea. What inspired this side hustle and how has it impacted your professional creativity?
Well, Vanessa Ressler, aka Baby Van Beasley, local DJ, karaoke legend herself, we're friends. She and I were just having some drinks doing karaoke one night, and I was telling her about how I was always had this dream to have like an old school bus that you would convert into a karaoke lounge. And we just started talking about it. I'm like, no, it'd be great. I said, well, the more you think about it, I don't want to have to worry about an engine breaking down and having a bus, you know, always like smoke billowing out of it. That's just the visual that I had. I said, but I've always wanted to own an Airstream. So maybe in an Airstream, because, you know, people love that. Like when Skillet had their first.
Oh, that was so cute. Yeah.
An Airstream. And they're so iconic. And I don't know. It just kind of went from there. And then I followed up with her not too long after that and said, hey, what if we did a Kickstarter? And if we don't get the money, you know, we don't do it. It was a fun little exercise and everything. So we got the money. And I was like, oh shit. Like, so we're going to do this now.
So we're buying an Airstream.
Yeah. Never towed in my life. Didn't even have a tow vehicle, really. I had my little Jeep Renegade at the time, but we went down to Medford, Oregon, picked it up from this guy who was a total gem, and then just figured it out from there. And one of my besties, he lives in LA. He had redone his own tin can camper, like a Shasta camper. And I was like, why don't you come up and do this? And so he came out for a couple months and did the whole thing. And then we launched in the end of February 2020 or right beginning of March. Yeah. And then COVID.
Really good timing. That was great timing.
I know. This is my favorite. Yeah. So, I mean, and the idea, honestly, behind it was it's nice to have little intimate moments, intimate events, like everything. We don't need everything so big. Like, let's bring people together. And then COVID, you know, and then you have to convince people as we're slowly coming out of COVID that it's a good idea to get into
get in a small space together and breathe on each other. People, come on.
Yeah. Which, fun fact, I did an event with Microsoft. It's kind of an annual event that they do. They've rehired us for, but it must have been 2021 maybe. And I was sitting there doing this event being like, I'm actively getting COVID right this minute.
I know it. I can feel it. This multiplying in my body.
Sure enough, it happened. But, you know, I mean, I had a lot of measures in place that I felt were helpful and made people feel comfortable, but it didn't matter. And yeah, so I find that the things that have been most successful, corporate events is kind of primarily the sweet spot, or activations like kind of trade show-ish, or like Carnival of Cocktails we did with Jack Daniels. Oftentimes anything where it's like a lively crowd and they want stuff to do and they're like, ooh, 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 like these kinds of people, they'll come in for a little bit and then they'll leave. Taste Washington is another great idea. I mean, these are all drinking events, but we've also done like the night market has been really fun, and anything where you can come in for a little bit, have a little experience and go. Now, granted, there are people that will stay there all night. And so we will have to like manage a queue and all this kind of stuff. So in terms of like creativity, I think for me, it's been working with the brands and how we can, you know, use the Airstream to highlight it. So we'll do things like cover the windows with their brand name, or Cutwater Spirits would give us signage to put on the inside and fill the coolers with their cans.
Didn't you wrap the
And
Airstream before? That was so
We
cool.
did for Alaska Airlines.
Alaska, I thought so.
Mhm, for the day in, day out festival. And that was great. So working with them to also get flight attendants to be there and it was like visually it was really neat, right? Yeah. And so there's little things like that where like the marketing side of me just always gets to have a good time whenever I'm doing those brand activations. And then the production side of me was like, okay, the logistics of this is, okay, how do we manage the queue? How do we get through these people and, make them happy, make the client happy, and all that kind of stuff.
How do you nicely kick someone out of the AirScream?
Oh, it's funny. People have gotten that. being nice. And being nice. And again, oftentimes when it involves alcohol, you either get the happy ones or you get the mean ones. So, one time we were doing the market and this gal and her friend had been in there, a few times throughout the night, and that's fine. And then when we start to get busy towards the end of the night, I got to mind the queue. I'm like, you guys come in as a group, you get to do 2 songs, and then I'll oftentimes reduce it to 1 song, and then we're moving on. And she had come in there. I'm like, I am so happy you've been here most of this event, but I have to make room for, some new folks. She was like, fine. And so she left, but it wasn't until the person I had assisting me that night, she was like, okay, Kelli, I saw the gal that you kicked out. She was mad and crying and saying stuff like,
crying.
They made me leave. I mean, who knows? She could have been talking about something else, but yeah, she was still mad about it.
How did you come up with the name?
Barbie Hall.
All hail Barbie Hall. The best.
Hail Barbie Hall. Her husband and my partner and I went to brunch one day, and I was like, ugh, I don't know what to name this stupid thing. He's like, how about the Airstream?
Chris suggested that?
In his Chris Barnes voice. Yep. And there you go.
Well, and
clever.
Fun fact this is a little known fact. I don't flex this very often, but as Kelli knows, I don't even know if Libby knows this. I am a Giphy artist. I make stickers for Instagram, and my stickers I have like over 300, and they've been viewed something like 84 million times.
Oh,
if only I could have a penny for each view, just 1 penny. Yes. But the AirScream stickers that I designed for you are by far the top 10 stickers of all time. And I think the number 1 is Chris singing. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's up there. So if you type in when you're adding a GIF to, your reels or stories, and even if you just type in karaoke, it doesn't have to be Airstream or anything like that. Yeah, it'll be the one of Chris singing where he's going like this, or one of the trailer.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
My claim to fame.
I was going to just try and I've seen him. I was going to just try and look it up again, but that was going to take too long. But I'm going to go back.
So Kelli, you've worked on all sizes of events. What's the event that's had the biggest budget you've gotten to play with? Because I love spending other people's money.
I mean, you don't have to tell us the number, but you can just say the name and the vibe, like what you did.
Just tell me how many commas were in the number.
Well, how many commas are involved? I mean, I think honestly, EDC, even though, other teams had to mind their part of the budget, I still, held people accountable as a project manager. I can't remember what it was, but you'd be surprised. Like, I actually find one of my strengths that I never knew I had was being really good at budgeting for events. Don't talk to me about my real life, but
you are very good because I remember getting the final bill for all the decor, like all the custom decor that was built for that anniversary party. And I was like, oh man, I thought I was going to be way over budget, but we were just right on target.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to be wasteful and I hate running out of stuff, but I also hate having extra.
Scrappy is a word I would use one of the words I would use to describe you. And I say that with like mad respect. Like Scrappy is a very handy skill set in the event world.
Yeah. And you don't always have to do things that are big and flashy to have a good time. I mean, I know you guys know that. I have the folks that I work with at Meta at Reality Labs is a research facility. And I'll tell you, they, as much as you think like, oh, Meta employee events must be like, woo, crazy and all that stuff. Oh, they were back in the day. But things have, we've kind of tightened some things up. But this particular crowd, they would rather stand around a cocktail table and talk to each other than go to a photo booth, than go, play a game or, do this or that, which is great because that's kind of what I want as an employee experience manager is for them to have community at work. And, and then I save a couple grand on a photo booth as much as I love a photo booth, but it's like 10 people go in it at a 500 person party. Like, it's just not worth it.
Well, the event that we came to in January of, 24, the dry cocktail making class, that was so cool. And you had, I don't know how many people you had there, but it was like very engaging. People were really into it. You could hear all these conversations happening at all these different tables.
Yep.
And then the people that stayed after the class to compete and, present their cocktail, that was super fun.
Yeah. And that was also, totally forgot about that. But yeah, that was one of those events where I was like so excited. It was dry January. We're going to do something for wellness and, it's a new year. And then we had the threat of like a couple snowflakes, like actual snowflakes.
It's a big deal in Seattle. Big deal.
Yeah. And so that was really annoying because I had you guys coming. I had DJ Baby Van Beasley doing scratch lessons. My whole thing behind
the lessons were
good.
That was a cool touch.
Scratch was a great theme. It was very clever.
Thank you. But then I had to like throw in one more scratch because I believe in threes. And so I got a swag back.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
I will say I picked that swag out. I'm like, that actually is very practical.
A great idea.
I took
as
two
a
of them.
single gal, I appreciated.
I took 2 back scratchers.
But 2. I keep one in my vehicle and then I keep one by my bed.
It's so smart.
Just middle of the
Because how annoying is that to have an itch you can't scratch?
Especially when you're driving in traffic. Oh God.
The worst.
Okay. Before we wrap,
do we have to wrap?
Know.
Can we just hang out here?
Yeah.
Well, I spent so much of our time talking about my old pets, which was not going to be on the podcast.
Yeah, hopefully that gets edited out because it was really sad and depressing.
But you can always email me, libby@workp2p.com, and I'll tell you all about my animal life. Okay, I want to hear about some celebs you've worked with because you also, in your pre-festival life, you were at Universal Studios.
Universal Studios Hollywood. I was an atmosphere entertainment manager, which I think was roughly the title. I'll have to look at my LinkedIn.
What a title. What a title.
I know, right? I've had a number of them there, but I essentially would do things from auditioning entertainers, going through like show rehearsals or like character rehearsals, or we are creating a show. So good example is the Grinch movie. So this is where I learned about access. I loved this project. So this was before the movie came out, and we got to go down the hill to Imagine Entertainment to the studios and watch the movie, like on a VHS tape or whatever. And because it hadn't come out in theaters.
The one with Jim Carrey, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we had to do was build a Grinch universe, based on this. And, talking to other people, I was able to talk to the gal who did the wigs. And she was...
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, because I think it was her or the costume. I can't remember, but whoever it was nominated for an Oscar. So that was cool. And we got to walk through because they kept all the costumes in a warehouse and like I'd be like, oh my God, this is Jim Carrey's Grinch costume. And I hadn't really gotten like celebrity weirded out at that point. And it was kind of like, this is cool. So, but anyway, like that was a big one where we got to do, the talent came and we did PR and the Today Show came and all this kind of stuff. And that one was really cool. But my point being, like, I would do projects like that in addition to the daily walk around characters or shows and stuff. So yeah, Wayne Brady, a game show host extraordinaire. I've done many things with him. He used to be in the Beetlejuice show. He was in the Blues Brothers show. I feel like there was another one I'm missing, but like endless rehearsals I've done with Wayne and all that. He's a sweetheart. And Kristen Wiig, people find it hilarious. Kristen Wiig we weren't sure what we were going to do. So the person that was like the lead producer of this like improv group we wanted to have on the theme park grounds to just interact with guests and all this kind of stuff. And then we're also like doing warm-up shows. So like before a show, you'll have somebody that's like, hey, everybody, welcome, and they're like,
that's a very
like
Kristen Wiig thing right there.
Like the
I know, right? It's funny. The guy who was my number one, he's now like one of the top warm-up guys. It's awesome. His name's Bill Sindelar. And so, yeah, but Kristen also we did a Daredevil show back when that movie was out. So she was the number one on the roster for that as like Gale Weathers kind of reporter, And what else did she do? She did warm-up for the Beetlejuice show. Yes. And a couple other things. I remember when my coworker Danny and I were sitting in her audition and we're just like, oh my God, she's hilarious. Like, what are we going to do with her? Like, we have to
do something really good.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. And she and I were friends for a while too. And then it was like, I hadn't heard from her for a while. And then we were watching like Saturday Night Live. And that was the season. Like, I was like,
you're like, huh?
Okay.
That's what happened to her.
I guess that's why she didn't call me back. Weird.
Yeah, now I know why she fell off the face of the earth. Okay, way to go, girl. But yeah, a lot of people have done that. Like a lot of other actors have done like the Blues Brothers show, like Eric Lang. If I showed you a picture of him, you'd be like, oh yeah, I know that guy. He's like a character actor. And like, yeah, a lot of people. And it's a great side gig when you're an actor. And I even was able to be an actor at Universal doing the Terminator show. I could do that as a contractor, even though I was an employee at Universal. Yeah. So I was a Kimberly, as they called it. And I was an MC on City Walk. I could do that. So I used to MC these like, what do you call them? They're just sort of like summer event experiences where they had a stage and they do dance lessons. And
do you miss living in California?
Sometimes. I used to say, nah. But like the last couple times I've gone back, I think it's just mostly I miss my friends. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely a different way of life. And yeah, sometimes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I haven't been to Universal in a while. I need to go back.
Oh, so fun. So many good rides. So many good rides.
Yeah.
Well, what's next for you, Kelli? Like what are you working on? I mean, besides the big New York themed event.
No.
What else do you have up your event sleeve this year?
I have a biannual event I do that is a research symposium that it's all employees and I do all like the activations around it. So we typically have done it at the Maidenbower, but this year we're doing it on campus. So that's another like logistical, like, ooh, how are we going to do this? So always keeping me on my toes. And yeah, so there's never a dull moment there. AirScream is slowly starting to pick up for summer as far as inquiries. So we've got some of those lined up. And then, I also do a lot of animal rescue. So I participate in some events. I'm actually going to a trade show next week. That's Animal Care Expo in Vegas. So yeah, I just kind of am like fully immersed in events constantly.
Okay, speaking of animals, I just want to tell one more story. And
okay, it's not going to involve
no one's going to cry. No, this is actually.
Okay.
I was on maternity leave. I think I was going on maternity leave, and the magazine where I was working at was having a beef festival. And so I had sent a note to Kelli and I was like, hey, I'm on maternity leave. This is going to be a crazy event. Would you be interested in contracting out to produce it? And like, I'm sure it'll be really interesting.
Really? You asked the vegan
I know.
that? Really?
And Kelli so kindly responded and was like, I'm just kind of ethically opposed to, killing animal. I am the vegan. I don't think I could really do the whole beef thing. I think that's just like a little out of my, and actually maybe it was Celebrity Stakeout. It was Celebrity Stakeout. So two beef events. So it wasn't even the beef one. No, it was just Celebrity Stakeout. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that, but totally get it. And I just never forgot that in a good way. I was not upset. I didn't go cry to somebody around the corner, but I was like, you know what? Kelli is somebody who really is very strong in her beliefs. And just because she could, sometimes you have to be like real scrappy in the event world. But I just love that you were like, yeah, I'm going to decline that because, well, I'm morally opposed, but so there's that. But I was like, I just have never forgotten that in a really good way. And I just think it's a really can be a hard thing to say no to people sometimes. And
yeah. And I will say, there have been times when I've been approached by clients or prospective clients in the past, or even with Airstream, where I'm like, do I want to do that? Or if I do it, I'm like, I'm not going to talk about it. I'll just do it. And I'm not going to post it on social. Because there was one event we were supposed to do last year. We were paid for it and everything. And 2 hours, maybe, 2 or 3 hours before we were supposed to be there, they canceled it. I still don't know why. I would love to know why. But I'm like, and not because of this incident, it's because of the company and who it is. I'm like, no, I will never do an event for you. Sorry.
Oh my God.
So you've been involved in events in the greater Seattle metro area for a long time, right? So what do you see is happening on the scene right now in the year of 2025 as it relates to events?
What are the cool kids doing?
What I noticed, we went to the Northwest Event Show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's a big kind of surge in crafting at events. There was a lot of crafting vendors that popped up that I don't remember seeing before. And I feel like I would have flagged them, being the crafty gal that I am. So are you seeing any other trends that are emerging, now that, pandemic is totally in the rear view mirror?
Right. I think there's a lot of a marriage of hands-on, with that, or everyone wants to try something once, that kind of idea. Or how the bear, when that came out, it was really popular. So many things were the bear. So it's I think grabbing on to what is in the cultural zeitgeist at the moment. I think White Lotus, that's another one. You see a lot of White Lotus stuff, or, anything that grabs onto the moment. You got to do it fast, and you got to do it, kind of right. And so I think a lot of things are influenced by, Netflix.
Yeah, it's true. Are you seeing much in the VR space as it relates to events? I thought I would be seeing more by now is why I bring that up. I like VR. I don't use my Oculus as much as I thought I would, but I enjoy VR, and I just thought we would see more interactive activities at events that I've seen so far.
There's a lot more coming with Ray-Bans. For sure. There's a lot of the AI integration too. And there's things that I took we'll show you one thing. I did take my Ray-Bans when I went to Mexico last time, but I still didn't fully know how to use them. So I didn't know what I was doing. And plus I need my glasses to see. So
that's important.
So I'm trying to determine if I can, get them prescription. But I will say this. So there's in Los Angeles on Melrose back in Q4 of last year, they did an activation. They did a Meta Ray-Ban store, and they used Latino car culture. So the lowriders.
Cool. Yeah.
And they married that with art and the Ray-Bans and this, which I have right here. So you were able to etch in customized.
That's cool.
So
that's super cool.
Record grade with my initials, which are
that's pretty badass.
Style. Yeah. Well, it's really cool, right? But I think that's one of those things where people don't really always pedestrian, let's just say people always know what to do. Where do I start with that? And I think an experience like that pop-up is a good example of come in, experience it, sit down. So the great thing with the glasses is which I'm excited about, there's a translation feature. I don't know how to use it, and all this kind of stuff. So there's just things that they're constantly inventing. There's so many things sitting in research that blow my mind every time. Like I'm able to dog food, as they say. So when you dog food, it's like the food's good enough. You eat it yourself or give it to a dog. But I can't tell you about the things I've done, but they are, they're not filthy, but it's more about the cutting edge of the technology, but also making it something that, like I said, pedestrian wise, like, how is this practical? How can I utilize this in life? Or, just how do I put these on? Right. How do I put these on and just like,
I've thought about getting them
So
multiple
cool.
times now. Multiple times. Yeah.
so like now they're on. Yeah. I don't really know how to use them, but they're cute. Right?
They're very
They're
cute.
super cute.
And they're a very cool
Very
case.
cute.
That's all that matters. And so the way that I use them is when I'm in Mexico at the dog rescue where I volunteer, I just click that and I'm taking videos and photos of dogs like as I'm doing it. So
How long is the battery life on those? You're not sure? I don't know. It's so these are I've thought about it. I think I've added them to cart and never pushed the final sale a couple times now.
I think you would get into them. I think you would get into
I think
them.
I would too.
They're pretty cool. And yes, I have not unleashed the potential of them.
One day.
One day.
Yeah,
Are you using a lot of AI in planning of events?
I would say the most AI I'm using is like writing out descriptions and doing my communications around them, because it's like, there's only so many ways I can say the same thing over and over. So I have to kind of reiterate it and make it fresh. And so that's oftentimes the prompts I will put in will be like, say this same thing, but different, or, and it'll work. Or like,
and make it sassy.
Yeah. Or if I'm trying to come up for a name for an event. Or I've even had to use visually, like to create some sort of, what do I say, like photo that doesn't exist. Yeah. And I like when they do things where you take like a prompt. Like I did one at our Burlingame campus that we have like at our visitor center. And I was like, a white cat, because I have a white cat who has heterochromia, so a blue eye and a green eye. White cat with heterochromia eating pizza. And it spit out this image and it's a sticker.
And look at that.
I think that's the most practical use of AI. Thank you very much.
That's pretty good. That's
For
pretty
kitty cat
good.
sticker. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, I use it to some degree and I probably use it in ways where I don't realize that's AI,
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think we're going to keep seeing it more and more and more.
For sure.
I love to ask people the different ways they're using it because there's just always ways that I would never even think of on my own.
I'd love to see an AI floor plan.
Ooh.
Cool.
Cool.
Where, especially if it's like a venue, like, okay, we're going to this venue again. We want to do the same event, but there's going to be this many people instead. And we want to have them at, 6-foot tables instead of rounds or, whatever. And you just put in that and it just does it.
And it optimizes for you. Yeah, that would be really cool. That would be really cool.
Because otherwise I'm currently just making little doodles of, insert shape. I hope this is to scale,
I know.
in Google Sheets. Yeah.
I know. And it would be cool to be able to, tell it the vibe that you're going for and like the, the programming and what, and have it kind of give you some ideas. Okay.
Yeah. And I think there's times when I've done that in some programs where I say, okay, these are the prompts and then create it. And I'm like, kind of.
I get it that a lot when I'm like trying to use it for social media stuff and it'll write things. And I'm like, no, that's dumb. No, I would never.
No,
I would not.
That's
it's
not
because I
original.
haven't trained it well enough. So it really loves to throw in emojis and like, make things too long, but
well, and I think there's something too. I remember when all the, like when Chat GPT first came out and I'm just like, no, I need to exercise my creative brain and writing skills. And then you get to a point where you're like,
do you?
Yeah.
Throw in the hopper. Yeah.
It's helpful.
Yeah. So when we're coming up for this New York themed event, I'm like, we need to name the pizza area this time. Like I want it to be like a raised pizza. Libby in New York, raised pizza is like a common thing. Do you know that?
I do now, but I do know about Pizza Rat. Are you going to incorporate Pizza Rat in some way?
Oh no.
People
that might
don't like
be
it.
too much.
Okay.
But because it's called Ray's Pizza, I was like, why don't we call it Ray Alities? Like it's a guy named Ray Ality.
Oh, clever. Clever.
Yeah.
That's good.
You should be
So,
wearing some of those Ray-Bans as well.
yeah, right? Like he's there with his little chef hat, the like.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I had to, again, I used my brain for that because what I was getting through AI was just like, no, I'm not going to call it that. No, it's different.
Yeah.
They're going to laugh me out of there. I
Yeah,
can't
it's-
use that.
Still not that
Yeah.
smart. Still not that
I
smart.
mean, right.
Well, Kelli, where can our many listeners find you if they want to hunt you down or if they want to rent the Airstream?
Yeah. You can go to the airscream.com. We're also on Instagram, not very active at the moment, but that's about to change, right? Yeah. And then on the old LinkedIn, and I'll be,
Good old LinkedIn.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We were so glad that you were able to come today. And that is a wrap for this episode of Beats Working. If you have an idea or you want to reach out, you can slide into our DMs or email us at info@beatsworking.show. And remember, every detail matters. Every moment counts. And no matter what, come on, Libby, say it in your mafia
The show
voice.
must go on. Is that good enough?
Thanks for listening to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Events, where we explore what it takes to make moments unforgettable.
If you're leaving with a little more inspiration, a little more perspective, and a big side ache from all of the laughing at our funny jokes, then we've done our job.
Beats Working is a Work P2P production. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platforms.
Your support helps us keep the magic going.